Hello, my name is Heather Wagner, and I am a Tula 12 brand ambassador. Tula 12 offers a wide range of inserts and covers to accommodate every lifestyle category that you can think of. Today, I am going to be discussing our family tree insert. It is available in medium and extra large, and the only difference is the amount of writing space. Otherwise, the layout is identical. One way you can use it, which is how I am using it in my health organizer, is to track any hereditary issues that may run in my family. So let's get started. The image you see is an example of our family tree insert, and I will be using it to help with my presentation today. I am big on color coding and will apply it here as well. All of the females will be represented in purple, and all of the males will be represented in blue. When we get to the section that discusses birth and death, birth will be represented in green and death will be represented in brown. Also, this view is represented as page 1, but the layout is actually spread over 2 pages if you have the insert in front of you. So keep in mind that even though this is spread out over 2 pages, I will be counting it as a 1 full page spread. This is what makes it easier for me. And if you choose to do page 1 and 2 instead of just one page layout, that is perfectly fine. You have to do it whatever makes it easier for you. Now, before I go any further, I provided a PDF of this so you could print it off and fill it out with your own personal information. Again, all you're needing to do is plug in the names, and that is it. If you haven't done this, I would recommend doing that because it will make it easier when we get further into this, when you take notes. Otherwise, if you have already done so, let's get started. As you see, I have already filled in the names of my family members, and that's the only info listed for the first page layout. This is simply a snapshot and nothing more is needed here. It helps you outline who you need to be tracking when we go and start doing the actual recording of the hereditary issues in your family. Furthermore, I have placed numbers on the page in the peach squares to help you know what pages we will be visiting. The other little thing I have done, which you do not have to do, is that with the women, I have actually separated their name a tad bit. The top line represents what their birth name is, and then the bottom line represents what their married name is. Sometimes people didn't get married, sometimes they did. Some people do or do not change their last names. I will be using this information later on for some genealogy work, but this was something I decided to do. Again, you can set this up how you want. I am just saying this is how I am doing it. The first thing I will be doing, I will be starting with the matriarch side of the family, and then I will be finishing with the patriarch side. So you see here, I am starting on page 2 with me again, and I will be representing with my parents here. The thing is, from now on, there will only be 2 generations of family on each page, and we will start with me. We will work to my mother on page 3, and then her mother on page 4. And once we get to that person, we also review their parents as well. And so once we have completed 4, we will jump down here and do 5 because I'm starting with the females, then to the males, because that is just how I would like the flow of my chart to be. So this right here will be the matriarch side of my family, and we finished on page 5. We come down to page 6 and we start with my father's side. Again, I'm still staying with the flow of starting with the females or the mothers first. In page 7 will represent my grandmother and her parents. And then page 8 will represent my grandfather and his parents. So I know it looks strange, but if you have filled out the PDF I provided, and once we start doing this, it will make much more sense. Okay, let's get started. So we are on page 2. Page 1 was just a snapshot Page 2, we are actually starting the actual information. So we start with ourselves. You can put your birth information if you like, that is optional. We already know our own birth date, so you don't really have to worry too much about that. And then we look at our parents. So as you see, we only have two generations of people here. And then we have our green section for birth, our brown section for death. Both of my parents are alive, so that area would remain blank, and I would put their birth date and where they were born at. My father was born in a different state, so that would be helpful to know that he was born in that other location. And I have color coded this to make it just a little easier to view. The first four boxes here I have designated for my mother, the bottom four designated to my father. I will use this section to detail any type of ailments, health problems that they may have. I will notate it all through this. If we come to a person who has passed away, the very bottom line of their boxes, I will list their cause of death because sometimes their cause of death could be something that's hereditary, and knowing how old they were when they passed away with something is also a good bit of information to have for your doctors as well. Okay, so again, we started with me for page 2. Page 3, we're going to my mother. So page 3, we start with my mother, and then we have her parents. And as you see, it's the same information that needs to be filled out. Both of hers have passed away, so I would fill in their death information and then notate on the very bottom line in these boxes what the cause of death was. So I'd fill everything out that they were having health problems with, and then the very bottom line, what their actual cause of death was. So my mother right here, she represents page 3. We still have one more generation to go. So page 3 to page 4 will be my grandmother, and then page 5 will be my grandfather. And once we have hit that, we have actually completed the matriarch side of the family. Pretty simple, right? So here we are on page 4. We are looking at my grandmother, my mother's mother, and her parents, and it's the same setup. It looks like a lot of copy, paste, repeat. That's really what it is. And it's much simpler once you kind of have your own families plugged in there. The flow works really well. So page 4 represents my grandmother, and then page 5 would be her husband, which is my mother's father, and his family setup. Okay? So, congratulations, we just completed the matriarch side of the family tree. So, the next step is we're going to jump to page 6 and start with my father's side of the family. And again, we start with his parents. And when you are looking at the number chart, my father was page 6. So my grandmother will be page 7 because I'm still staying with the flow of going to the female first or the mother, then to the father. So she would be page 7 and he will be page 8. So we go to page 7, we have her parents and all of their information. And then we go to page 8, again, my father's father, his parents, and their information. So I am going to jump back here and do a quick recap of what we just went over. So as you see, this is what the actual insert looks like. So I did this as close as possible to mimic it. So it's actually pretty well close to being what it needs to be. Something that you can do while you're waiting for your actual insert to come is you can print 8 pages of this off. So it's the same page, print it off 8 times, and you can actually build your chart right now. And then once your insert comes in, all you have to do is plug your information in and you are good to go. So again, the first page, which is where we are, is just the snapshot of everybody in the family tree. And we have 4 generations here, and we won't be going no further than that. And by doing this right here, it will take 8 pages or 8 page layouts. And there are a few extra pages left over that you can use for any other detailed information if you need it. But it's pretty simple. So, page one is my snapshot. We start on page two with me, page three with my mother, page four with her mother, and then page five, the father. And that's as simple as that. And once that side of the family was done, we jump to six, which is my father. And then we do the same thing. We go to page seven, which is his mother, and page eight, which is his father. Once you've actually wrote it out, it's very simple to understand. It's always harder to get started because you can feel very overwhelmed getting this information together. But just take your time, print off these PDFs that I've already provided. It's a great way to write everything out. Make sure you have it in the right order. Make sure you have all of your information correct so that by the time your insert actually does come in, you already are prepared. And all you have to do is write it in your insert. And now you have a family tree insert that has all of the hereditary issues that could be in your family. Now, if you have any questions or if you need any help getting yours set up, I'll be more than happy to help. And if you need more one on one assistance, I am here to help in any way I can. If there is another presentation that you would like for me to make and do a live Q&A, I'd be more happy to do that as well. Hopefully this was helpful. And again, this is why I have this particular insert in my health organizer, because my doctor can now look at this family tree and see what is running through the genetics. Am I more susceptible to having cancer, lung cancer, breast cancer, cervical cancer? By doing this particular setup, one thing I realized is that by looking at 3 and 4 right here, which is my mother, grandmother, and great grandmother, all three of these women, by looking at this information, all had issues with endometriosis and cervical cancer. All three of them did. So we have 3 generations of back to back women who have this health problem, which then means my chances of having that problem is pretty high. So having that and showing that to my doctor shows this is something we need to be watching for. So instead of getting checked every few years like most women do, I get checked every 6 months just because by looking at my family tree insert, my risk is much higher. So if you do have things like that that run in your family, this is a very good insert to have. And even if you do not want to have your own health organizer, which I really do recommend, this is still a good thing to have to take to your doctor's office. And it also makes it easier when you go to a new doctor and they're asking what runs in your family. Well, now you have this portable insert that can help you notate, well, this runs in my family. This family member had this health problem. So it's good to have for that. Hopefully, this was helpful. If you have any questions, please let me know. Otherwise, I hope you have a wonderful day and thank you for watching.